It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Do Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was something else. We started off talking about the father who jumped into the ocean on he and his daughter's Disney trip cruise and saved the day. Well, only to find out that he was the one who put her up on the railing for the photo op, and she lost her balance and fell. Well, that's why he had to jump up in there. Yes, well, thank God again that they were rescued, and the emergency services of the cruise ship, they were on point. Well, we also talked about out in Colorado, the return to nature funeral home owners. They have been getting off like two bandits. $900,000 is what they have incurred since 2019 through 2023 after they have taken 191 bodies, threw them over into some building, and they say that they found this building with all of these bodies insect infected, and they had been giving the family fake ashes. Yeah, well, can you imagine? This must be a cremation issue with all of these families, because they thought that their families were put to rest and that they were, they had received all the ashes, only to find out that the owner hadn't done anything with the bodies. Now, he ended up getting 20 years, and he is still facing state charges. He still has to go to court for the state. Yeah, because, the state is the one who ultimately authorizes these funeral directors and owners to actually do the business that they do. Yeah, because they have to be licensed and everything. So the wife is still awaiting trial. But here's the thing that we got to talking about yesterday in our church folk segment. So one of the young men who was a victim of, the return to nature fiasco, his grandma, who he said was his second mom, was like his second mom, he ended up with some real emotional issues. He said that when he found out that his grandma really had not been put to rest, that he had to go to therapy. He was seriously depressed. He had to end up getting a dog. Yeah. And, my theory, the feeling of the Do Time crew pastors, if you took care of your family the way you did, then guess what? You would not be all twisted to the degree of having to get some service, emotional dog, emotional aid, and all of this kind of stuff. How are we putting that much trust into man, where if there's a glitch like this? Now, don't misunderstand me. I truly believe, having, to put away my own mom, finding out later that, they had not done with her body what they said they were going to do. Of course, it would have some emotional effect on you. However, I'm not falling apart where I now need some service animal and all of that. Now, some people say, well, you know what, Pastor Steph, that's you. No, it's not just me. If we were doing what we were supposed to do by our family members, then we wouldn't have to worry about all of this stuff here, where we're so grieved that you have to now get this type of an aid. And someone asked a very good question yesterday. They said, well, what happens if something happens to the dog? Yeah, well, where you going after that? What you getting after that? Well, the fact of the matter is, Serge put up in the chat room, he does not need an animal, he needs God. And that's exactly what we were talking about. You need to rely on God. God is your source of strength. That's where your wait, yeah. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. Just put it in the chat room if you can hear me. Okay. All right. You can hear me. Well, okay. Oh, okay. Good. All right. Good. Well, we have moved straight into the time. Sorry for the technical difficulty. We've moved in straight into the time of our break. So go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody that it's due time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Even audience, stand up, Eva. Let them know you're there. Look at Eva. Look at it. Work it, girl. Work it.
That there's no better woman, and when it comes to loving me, you give your all tenderly. One more can I ask for? I won't let you down. I need you in my life, yes sir. Just call on me and I'll come running. I swear to God, I'll run. Make it good, make it right, make it right, baby. Oh my God, oh my love. Girl, you better watch your pacemaker. Baby, let me turn over.
Okay. Everybody, you're probably wondering what in the world was that? What kind of PSA was that? Well, I am talking to especially the old schoolers. Do you remember Miss Eva? She was always in the front of the audience each and every time someone panned the camera on It's Showtime at the Apollo. You could not get It's Showtime at the Apollo and not see Miss Eva, the older lady in the front, and they showed her in every clip, grabbing on the leg, jumping up on the stage, waving. Well, Miss Eva is no longer with us. As of this week, the world lost Miss Eva. And I say the world because, yeah, pretty much the world. Everybody knew who Miss Eva was. And that was just the comedic side of It's Showtime at the Apollo. Miss Eva was born in 1938. She gave her own show in the front. So prayers up for Miss Eva's family. There will never be another Miss Eva in this world. Definitely to the Showtime, It's Showtime at the Apollo audience. So I just had to share that with you for all of you who do remember Miss Eva in the front, always carrying on. And I wanted to just give you that piece of information. And that was just my fun way of saying, bye, Miss Eva. Yeah. So it's due time with Pastor Steph is back. and it is Wow Wednesday. And you know what we do on Wow Wednesday. Let's say good morning to our girl Vivian. Good morning, Vivian.
Good morning. Happy Wow Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Well, thank you. I definitely appreciated that explanation because I was like, what? Did they play the wrong video? What is going on?
Yes, I figured some of you younger ones would probably be figuring, what kind of PSA is this? Has Miss Steph lost her mind? Yeah, but if you've ever seen, I mean, one episode of a Showtime at the Apollo, and they showed the performing artist, she was always jumping up and down and stuff like that. So when I saw yesterday, when I opened up Instagram and I saw that she was no longer with us, I said, we got to show this clip. So thank you. Well, listen, you know what I always like to ask? What you got for us today?
Right. Today on Socially Conscious, we are starting off with some news for anyone looking to go or go back to college. They're saying New Yorkers interested in high can apply for states free community college programs at SUNY and CUNY, and the applications to register started yesterday. The program, previously announced by New York Governor Kathy Hochul, covers the cost of tuition, books, and additional fees for residents between the ages of 25 to 55 years old when enrolled in a high-demand field. High-demand fields include advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, engineering, technology, nursing and allied health fields, green and renewable energy, and as well as pathways to teaching and shortage areas. So if any of those fields seem interesting to you, you could go to school for completely free because they're covering tuitions, books, and additional fees. So you can go to either SUNY.edu or CUNY.edu to apply and find out more information about this new opportunity. Next, we have a surprise surge in job openings. They're saying, in a plot twist for the economy, job openings unexpectedly jumped to 7.76 million job openings in May, the highest level since November of 2024. According to new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this is up from 7.39 million, which was just counted in April. The job openings and labor turnover survey also showed that 5.5 million hires were made during the month, which is down from 5.61 million made during April. The hiring rate ticked lower to 3.4%, which is down from 3.5%. And one sign that workers remain cautious about labor market conditions, the quit rates, and a sign of confidence among workers. That moved up from 2.1 to only 2%, from only 2%. So what does all this mean? Why should we care? And they're saying that because of the numbers, these numbers impact everything from how easy it is to get a job to how much leverage you have to negotiate better pay. More job openings usually mean more opportunities and possibly better wages as employers compete for workers. It also plays a part in whether the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates, which affects your credit card interest, loan payments, and even rent or mortgage rates. So if the job market stays hot, rate cuts might get pushed back, meaning higher costs stick around longer. So believe it or not, the job economy and how many job openings there are, how many times people are quitting, and things like that. These play a big part in a lot of things that we never would have thought of. So it's good to keep an eye on these things. Next up is the heartbreaking story of the Idaho firefighters that's been all over the news. Authorities say 20-year-old West Rowley shot and killed 2 firefighters and seriously injured another while they were responding to a wildfire that he allegedly started himself. They say Rowley had been living in his car and was clearly going through it. His ex-roommate said he started acting strange and he was caught on security camera throwing up gang signs, and things only increasingly got worse after he moved out in January. They say he used to want to be a firefighter, but somewhere along the way, things took a dark turn. They're saying the firefighters who rushed to the scene found themselves under fire and took cover behind the fire truck. It is reported that there was an interaction with the firefighters and Mr. Rowley before the shooting began. They're saying it's had something to do with Rowley parking his vehicle near the fire. So I guess they said something to him or asked him to move his car, and he decided to start shooting at the firefighters. The deaths of Frank Harwood, 42, in Coltini County, 52-year-old John Morrison. They're saying that this really shook the fire department up, and now they are making sure that anyone who goes out is accompanied by police backup to every call going forward, even if it's a small, quote unquote, small fire. They're not going out without police officers after this incident has occurred. And authorities say that, of course, Mr. Rowley died by suicide after the shooting. And today, for our wow story of the week, we have our president, Trump, in the headlines again, as reports are coming out and numbers are coming out that are revealing what's been really happening with this whole deportation thing. They're saying new data shows that in the first 5 months of his administration, from Inauguration Day to May 4th of 2025, ICE arrested over 95,000 people. And here's the breakdown. They're saying 38,000 of those arrested had criminal convictions. 32,300 had pending criminal charges. And surprisingly or unsurprisingly, around 21,900 people had no criminal history at all. So Trump originally promised to focus deportations on migrants with criminal records. But as we can see by these numbers, that was not always the case. They're saying these numbers were released by the Deportation Data Protection at UC Berkeley. It shows a clear shift. Nearly 1 in 4 people arrested were people with no criminal charges or history. And then Trump's deportation focus shifts even more as the time continued. They're saying out of every 10,000 people arrested, 3,000 had criminal convictions, 2,600 had pending charges, and 4,400 had no criminal record at all. So it went from being majority criminals to being majority people who did not have any criminal record. So that was a big shift, and people are definitely happy to see these numbers because now we get an inside look on what has really been going on, which some of us already knew already. But This has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wild stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me on Facebook. My username there is Vivian BM, and come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you, as always, to our loyal viewers, and thank you, Pastor Steph.
Woo. Now, girl, you were doing your thing, I'm sure. After the five, once you started the five, I didn't hear anything after.
Oh no!
I didn't hear anything after that. So what I'll ask you to do is I can lead on the first couple of stories, and then I'll just come back to you for the other stories,
No
if that's
problem.
okay.
No
That's okay.
problem.
You're still with us, right? You staying with us?
Yes. Yep.
Ooh, this is some kind of connection. Okay, I believe it. You got to let me know. This is a horrible connection, and the enemy is trying to say I was out last week. We not gonna get up because we had 2 days of really good shows, and now I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with this particular connection. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat room. Just say yes, Pastor Steph. We can hear you. Do we still have our girl Vivian?
I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good morning. Good morning. I can see that we have Shantice. Good morning, Shantice. I see we're trying to get Vivian on. Where's my girl Tamika? Let's get Tamika up in here.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm happy.
Wow. Good morning. Good morning. Vivian is still coming up, and I did not say good morning to my viewers. So while Vivian is getting up here in the studio, let me say good morning to our girl Ketty. Hey, Ketty girl. Let's say good morning, Serge. Good morning, Serge. Who else is out there? I think I saw Majesty pop up. And our boy Terrence. Good morning, Terrence. And we got to say good morning to the ladies who hold it down in the background. Let's say good morning.
Pastor Steph is experiencing some challenging connection, everyone.
So while she's experiencing technical difficulties,
all righty.
Since I'm the old one,
we got to get our girl, Lady Tamika, back up in the room. Hey, Pastor Kim. Good morning. Thank you for stopping by and saying good morning. This is one crazy connection this morning. And it looks like we have our Lady Tamika on, but it looks like she's frozen.
No, Lady Tamika's good.
Looks like we lost Pastor Steph again. So what I was going to mention was Lady Eva. I remember her. She used to drive me crazy because, if you're watching it on television, you could barely get to see who the artist is because she's on their lap, she's holding on to their leg, she's screaming and hollering, she's jumping, she's doing all kinds of stuff. I'm like, I just want to watch the show. Would you please pretty please? Move out the way. The artist is there. She's between their laps. You know, as you can see that little small excerpt that he said, you don't have to watch where you are. Because I mean, she's all over them, like spilled rice, or spilled gravy. She's all over them on their legs. And, Lady Eve used to drive me crazy. I was like, I'd rather just go to the show. I'm going to sit in front of you because I can't see the artist because you're blocking everything.
That was the life of Apollo. I
it was, but it drove
so
anybody that was like, oh, crazy.
Yes. Pastor Steph back on.
I see her, but I don't see her talking.
Pastor Steph, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Because everything is frozen. So here's what I propose. Since this connection is so shoddy, I propose we go straight audio. I mean, that's our origin anyway. We definitely go back to that if it will mean that we will have a more solid connection. My suggestion is that we do that. Don't worry about the cam. And I would love to still do. I got all my girls here. I got to ask where my girls at. I got all my girls here. So I would love to still have the show. So if we can just maybe defer to audio, maybe that would make us a little more solid. I don't know. So ladies, if we can shut the cameras down, maybe that would help to eliminate some of our issue here. I'm sure our viewers, listeners would love to just have us. I just shut my cam off. So I would love to just hear your voices so we can have our wonderful show here.
Okay.
So if you all out there in It's Due Time World, from what I understand, it's my connection that's so horrible. So if I don't want to lose my ladies today.
I believe you have us. I think it is just your connection because we're all moving.
Okay. I missed our lady Tamika's reminiscing about Miss Eva. But I definitely thank you all. I know Ketty says, I remember her always in the front. And Anika says she was a staple in that show. So yes, she was a staple in that show. So if you...
Absolutely.
Eva, we had a wonderful time watching her. All right. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me so I can go on with our socially conscious news. I don't want to talk to myself and I don't want to think that you're hearing me and you're not.
We can hear you just fine.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Vivian just did some of the greatest news I have heard in a long time. If anyone remembers this, but we have been promised that eventually for us to go to school here in New York for free. So what Vivian has just announced is the ability to go to SUNY New York for absolutely free. Books, tuition, and fees are all taken care of, as well as City College. You can too absolutely free. And again, that's books, tuition and fees. Tamika, what say you about this opportunity? But you got to be 25 years or older. You've got to go into some specialized. And interestingly enough, artificial intelligence is one of the fields you have to go in. And I heard some level of nursing. So, Lady Tamika, what say you about this? Do you think you going back to college?
I'm good.
Thank you.
It's just, there's so many tender things with AI, and with everything that's going on in my own, workplace now, as well as other things. I just get a little concerned about some essence of the education thing. I think it is a beautiful thing for those who it applies to, that they can get it. You can no longer use, well, I didn't do this because I didn't have enough money. You can't use that as an excuse now because you do have it.
Yes, I'm sorry. I missed the requirements of it. They said you have to be how old?
25 and
25
older.
to 55 years old.
Oh, 25 and older. Okay. Okay. And it has to be nursing or what else?
Yes.
You can only go to school for nursing?
Gave like very some real special areas of study.
It's advanced
Vivian,
manufacturing,
can you hear us?
artificial intelligence. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay.
Yes, can you repeat that? Vivian?
Yes, advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, engineering, technology, nursing and allied health fields, green and renewable energy, pathways to teaching and shortage areas.
Well, that kind of makes sense because those are all the areas that need help in this day and age. Trying to replenish all of the loss that we have. And we have a great loss from the pandemic to now. And in addition to all of the different changes that are transpiring, people in higher offices being fired or quitting, we need to be able to get back to where we were. The only issue is, how do we get there? Will this benefit, or it's hard to say. It's too early to really know at this day and age.
I think a lot of the fields are kind of helping the government in a sense still, because it's like cybersecurity, we can use you for that. Technology, AI, nursing. It's like a lot of the fields that they can still benefit from. I feel like they should open it up more to interests that people would be able to get into and not be utilized by the government. Teaching, but only if it's like in areas where there's a shortage. It's very, very strategic the way that they're doing things. Nobody can just go to school for free and become a teacher. It has to be very specific to what you want to teach and where you want to teach. And that makes it very difficult to utilize.
I could see that as well. In our everyday neighborhoods, on our blocks, there are things that,
Right.
we need. And this is another reason why our city council, our city councilmen have so much of an effect in our neighborhood. And a lot of things that affect our specific neighborhoods, like the consensus that a lot of people just throw in the garbage can. they mean so much and they have so much value, because if we don't use what we have access to, then we lose it. And you can't complain when you don't have such and such, when you didn't go to your city councilman. You don't, some people don't even know who their city councilmen are in their own neighborhood, you know. And so reach out to those who have the effect in your neighborhood. Yeah, it's nice that you got all that stuff, you know, cybersecurity over there, but what happens right here?
Hopefully this will be like a pilot program, and then when they see that this is going well, then hopefully they'll open it up and branch it out to more fields, and more people can really take use to this, because it's a great idea. But when you put us in this box that we can only go to school for free if you do this or that or this, it kind of makes it difficult for people to really utilize it. So hopefully they'll expand it more throughout the years, but definitely a good idea, much needed, because a lot of these kids today, I always say you can't get them to finish elementary school, let alone high school and into college. So it's definitely a great incentive to get kids to finish off their mandatory schooling and go into college if they know that they can go to college for free.
Absolutely. I remember my time in, you know, going into college, that was my major concern. Mom, how are you going to be able to pay the bills? How are you going to be able to such and such? And we go to college. But of course, the God that we serve is amazing. And I was able to do that. You know, now that alleviates the stress off of mom and dad's shoulders.
Yes.
Yes. Can you ladies hear?
We can.
Everyone for the difficulties with the connection. Pastor Steph is having a bit of a challenge getting back on. But I agree with you ladies, and that's what I was thinking about as well. What Vivian was just saying. So it's like, oh, okay, we get to go to school for free. Great. But only if you're interested in these programs. And then you're like, okay. Well, I'm not interested in nursing. I'm not interested in AI. I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in that. So now what does that mean? You know, so as soon as we hear free schooling, you get everyone excited. But, there's always a catch. And it's like, well, how does that work? You know, and then going with what Lady Tamika just said, you know, and what Vivian just pointed out as well, you know, it is extremely challenging to get these children nowadays through mandatory schooling. And you're trying to push them to further their education so that they can have a lot more options out here in these streets. Meanwhile, you're saying, but only if you're, and it's like, but these are not the only beneficial careers here. Yes, nursing is important. You know, engineering is important. But what about the other, and that's actually what I love a lot about these career days that they're having in the schools nowadays. You know, when we were younger, career days consisted of the typical careers, nursing, you know, doctor, police, firefighter. Now you have journalists who are going, you have women who are engaged in pageants during career days. You have fashion designers doing career days, you know, to expand, to show that there are other beneficial, successful careers that you can tap into. Meanwhile, like you said, Vivian, they're still trying to keep us in this box. So I'm not too sure how this is supposed to work. But there's always some kind of catch going on.
Yeah.
Always some kind of catch. Anika says, and hopefully one can also attend around work schedules if you're offering to folks up to 55 years old. Right. Is that going to be another hassle?
Right.
Like now they're going to put time restraints on what time you attend classes? Because the flexibility is what makes college. You know, I can do night classes, I can do day classes, I can do midday classes. I don't know.
One of my other concerns, you think about, you have some seniors or some people that are a little seasoned that may want to go back to college, you know, and can't afford it. And you know, just being transparent, I got 1 year to get it together. What else? What's left? I don't consider myself old, but you know,
right.
55. That July. That's to the end of this year. I'm done. My birthday is in March. I don't have much left. I don't even have a year now to think about it.
You got some time. But again, that goes back to what Vivian said about the box.
Right.
You know, the box that they're putting us in. Like 55 is old and crippled. Like, listen, after 55, you're not going to be able to see to read anyway. So we're going to cap it at 50. Like, what? Oh, my goodness. Vivian, I'm so sorry. Along with Pastor Steph, the sound was going a little in and out as well. What was your next story?
The surge in job openings. They were saying that the numbers have increased to the as well as the amount of hires have decreased. And this is affecting us because the job market plays a huge role in whether the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates, which affects your credit card interest, your loan payments, and even your rent and mortgage rate. So if the job market stays hot, rate cuts might get pushed back, meaning higher costs stick around for longer.
Okay, so I'm so sorry. So they're opening more jobs. But what's
They're
happening?
not opening more jobs, is
Okay.
more jobs available because people are just not taking in those positions or taking those roles in these jobs. So that makes the job market have a lot of availability in the job market.
Okay, so there's a lot more availability in the work field. But what's happening on the back end?
People are not being hired as much as they used to be in previous times. So there's more job openings, but they're not able to be filled either because people just don't want them or they're just not hiring. And all of this plays a part in interest rates when it comes to mortgage loans, your rent, your credit card interest. All of this plays a part in that somehow or another. So the higher job openings, the lower hiring means that our mortgage rates, our credit card rates, interest rates in different fields will continue to be high because there's so many job openings available.
Lady Tamika, what do you say for that?
It's a scary place that we're in. And I'm almost lost. I know Vivian said it, but I'm still kind of like, oh boy, it just makes it seem like we are headed for destruction. Although there's all these openings, nobody wants the jobs. And then here's the other thing that we have to be aware of that they're not saying is that as they're out there and as people are searching, and there are individuals that I know that this has already happened to, they're looking for employment. They click a link and the finances that they had in their bank account is being taken from them. You also, again, we have to be so very careful what we click. You're looking at stuff and you're looking for employment and then you get bamboozled, and so, it's kind of, we no longer just walk into a place and say, hey, looking for a job. Here's my resume. Everything is sending out your documents, and you have to safeguard even so much information that's on your resume. Back in the day, you used to put your name, your address, your phone number, and your email. Now it's just your name and your email because you have to be cautious. And so it's a very scary place. That not only that, everything is going up except for the income. And the reason why I know is because, I'm in the job market. I'm looking for something else, and even the job that I have now, they're paying far less and they want you to do far more. They're not providing you the things. So when you start looking at not resumes, when you start looking at what they're offering, then a lot of people say, I'll pass. I'll find something else, which when you don't apply or don't get a job, it affects everybody. So it's not just affecting your pocket, it's affecting, credit at large. People start using their credit card and then not having the resources to pay it. It becomes a larger and larger animal, and we have to be ever so cautious and careful. So if you're looking for a job, please, for the entire world, get a job so that you can help us all.
Absolutely. I That's why I had to ask Vivian for you to repeat it because I didn't feel like it was clicking for me at first. I'm like, okay, what? So there are more job openings. Meanwhile, there's still a whole lot of availability because people are not taking the jobs. Wow. So it's almost like what I'm hearing. It's almost like it's a lot more beneficial to not work and struggle that way than to work and still not be able to afford to live. And it's like, well, how does that work? Because now if I take this job or any job, but yet I can barely keep up with the bare necessities. We ain't even getting to the luxuries like food. We're not even talking about the food. We just talk about, okay, so I have to clear up debt. Even if I don't take care of my debt right now, my current expenses, I can't even keep up with my current expenses. Now you get on the bus or the train, you can tap your phone or tap your card. I can't tap nothing because I didn't used up the credit card, or I'm afraid to tap my card on my phone for $2.90 because what's the interest on the $2.90? And it's just like something else has to give. There has to be a better system put in place than this. Like how is it that it'll be a lot more beneficial for us to be unemployed but still struggle? I don't know. That's just what I'm hearing. It's like either way you're gonna struggle, so I might as well chill at home and struggle rather than travel during rush hour, deal with employers that get on my nerves, deal with employees that get on my nerves. If I work in any field that has to do with customer service, or dealing with the consumers directly, that's a headache and a hassle. Either way, I'm struggling. I don't know, Vivian, do you think that there could possibly be another type of system put in place that would make it a lot more beneficial to work to where it's like it's better not to work?
We need to figure out something because there's always been this, like for the working class people, we always get the short end of the stick. If you
Mm-hmm.
ain't rich or if you ain't on public assistance or something, it's
Mm-hmm.
never like we always get the short end of the stick. So
Right.
now I got a job, but because other people don't want a job or can't keep a job, now I'm paying higher interest rates when it comes to my credit cards or my mortgage loans, or this is why rent is so high. They need to figure something out.
Right.
Because now that, like you said, that makes me not want to have a job.
Exactly.
If it'll be easier for me to just be broke and be on public assistance, why would I want to be getting up every day to go to a 9 to 5 or go to a job if I'm still gonna be struggling because of the systems that y'all have in place? So they definitely
Exactly.
need to figure something out. Because then these job openings are just gonna continue to increase because don't nobody want to work.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh
It's
goodness.
always been us, and I feel like those that are working get a punch in the face sometimes.
Every
Like
time.
you think about when we had the pandemic, and they fussed at us for going to work. Then they came up with this nice topic, a nice nasty way, essential workers. And but people were looking at essential workers as if they were beneath. Listen, I still gotta pay my bills. I don't have
Right.
time to sit at home and twiddle my thumbs. I've got to
Right.
work. And here now we have this situation, and we're still getting punched in the face. So we all gonna sit at home, but realize that again, if I, as an employed person, stop working now, everything as it is, everything is already high. I
Right.
look at just your normal everyday fruit. I'm like, why is fruit so high? Anybody ever tried to look for soup? You can
Oh,
barely find one can of soup. I got one can of soup. Wait a minute, and it's not gonna go down unless we figure out some type of rule or plan that works for us all.
right. Right. Absolutely. It's almost like either way, I'm just getting jerked. We have to figure this out. Vivian, your next story was about the firefighters.
Yes, yes.
Now, was it that the gentleman started the fire and attacked the firefighters when they showed up
Yes,
on the
it
scene?
was. Yep, it was. Something was going on with him, according to his ex roommate. Something was going on with him mentally, I guess we can say. I know we don't always want to claim that mental illness, but that's what they're leaning towards. He set a wildfire in a well-populated area, called 911, and then started shooting at the police. I mean, at
Oh,
the firefighters.
oh my goodness! And he committed suicide,
Yes. Yep.
of
Killed
course.
two police officers, wounded a third, and then committed suicide.
And they were not able to disclose what his motives were.
Nope.
Oh my goodness, Lady Tamika, with just hearing that bit of information that they were able to provide, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
The fact that we know that there are people that have this term with mental illness, and I get it that it exists, but when you see it, how far back did you see the signs? And, I look at life in general and the way that we relate to each other. When you see the signs, how far back, who do you consult? Do you just, oh, that's just Bobby, oh, that's just Sally? Or do you really consult, reach out to somebody other someone that can help? Because I guarantee you there had to be something,
Right.
saw, especially considering the fact that you live with this individual. Did they
Right.
write something on a piece of paper? Did you see something, on the internet? Were they laughing at somebody's demise, and we got to this point where he sets a fire,
Right.
and kills the people whose job it is to help. It always concerns me about that, where you wait until it gets to that big. It's not just a little small spark. Now it's a big roaring fire, and you've got people's lives who are in jeopardy because of the fact that you are responsible. In general, you could have helped, you could have prevented.
Oh my goodness. It. Ugh. It's like what I agree with you, Lady Tamika. It seems as though there's a very fine line between mental illness and wickedness. So the mental illness says, I don't know how to handle the day to day or the daily ups and downs of life. When things go wrong, when things don't go my way, when someone acts up, when I'm being mistreated, I don't know how to handle that in a dignified, disciplined manner. Wickedness is I'm now start shooting at people, walk around just slapping people in the street. Like it's like that. It's like at some point it crosses over from mental illness to wickedness. For you to set a fire, to draw firefighters to the location and then start to release gunfire, that is not, I don't know how to deal with the normal ups and downs of the day, or when something that isn't quote unquote normal happens. And as it's always stated, we don't know what we're going to face from day to day. That's why you have that definition of mental, your mental health. It's today, it could just be something went wrong on level 9. Tomorrow, something go wrong on level 90. But how do I process that? How do I handle it? How do I now just go and pull the covers over my head and say, I don't want to deal with this day. I'm going to sleep the rest of this day away and start over tomorrow? Or do I learn how to deal with it to properly get through it? And my day may be jacked up from 3 to 8, but after 8 p.m., from 8 p.m. until whatever time I go to bed, I've had a much better night. You now using bait to get these people on the scene for you to shoot at them, that was a plan. That was not something that you just thought of at 3 o'clock and then you did it at 3:03. That was a plan at some point. And now it's to the point where they have to now dispatch police with the firefighters because they don't know what they have to face. And I can't imagine you already, and I always said, Vivian and Lady Tamika, I said, firefighters, they risk their lives every day. And I've never heard a firefighter, I just want to make it home safe. They will run into that building. They will run into that house. Their lives are not of concern. It's all about the people who they have to save from the smoke, from the flames. Now you're giving them this complex to worry about, that there's a chance I'm going to show up to this scene where there's a fire, where people need help, and I may not make it up out of there. Like, why would, what? They already got to worry about the fire. Now they got to worry about gunfire too. Vivian, what comes to mind for you with hearing something as like this was just beyond silly?
Yeah, I agree. We were talking about recently about the paramedics who are responding to calls and getting attacked. Now
Yes,
you have the firefighters responding to calls and getting shot at. It's going to be to the point to where nobody can go anywhere without police being with them.
yes,
And that just makes it very difficult because there's already a shortage with police officers.
exactly.
So they're just making this very difficult.
Well, not only that, let's add the lady that was doing her job at the subway who got slashed. So everywhere we look, and in addition to that, the thing that gets me mad is, ever been to the doctor recently, you'll notice that they not only ask about your physical health, they start asking you questions about your mental health. How do you feel today? How's everything going on? Are you able to function at work? Are you having depression issues? I'm like, wait a minute, I came to see you about my eye. Why are you, it's just, this is the day and age that hey, my elbow hurts. Why are you asking me about my mental health? Which goes to show you that everywhere we look, mental health, which comes, everything that happens mental happens in the spiritual first. So there is a spiritual unease and unrest that's causing this world to be chaotic.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't even think about that, Lady Tamika, because you're right. I didn't even think, when they ask, well, how are you doing? And, so on and so forth, that's their way of kind of like seeing, I'm not going to prepare you for these questions, but I need your on the spot answer, Goodness gracious. Vivian, you had your wow story next.
Yes, it was about Trump and the deportation numbers. They're now showing that he's not necessarily keeping his promise, because when he first started to run for president, he ran on the back that he was going to be deporting all the criminals back to wherever. But now we're seeing with the numbers coming out that a lot of the people that he is deporting have no criminal record at all. It was once where the criminals took presidents, the numbers were higher for people being deported with criminal records. And now we're to the point where the number of people being deported without any criminal history is higher than those who are criminals and being deported.
So he's just deporting whatever migrants.
He's just deporting whoever he catch, because we've heard stories before where the people ain't even immigrants, like they're from here and they're still being deported. So he's just going wild. And now the numbers are able to show exactly what we've been saying. He's just going wild.
And he wasn't there talk how he wasn't deporting them back to where they came from. So it's like, if I'm from Venezuela, but you sending me back to Puerto Rico, it's like, well, not back, because I ain't come from there. But it's like you're sending them to wherever. It's like wherever there's room, that's where you're sending them. So how does that? But lady,
whoever's paying the most, because we know that there has to be some type of incentive for all these people to be saying, yeah, send them this way, send them this way.
Yes. Lady Tamika, what comes to mind for you with hearing all of this?
It's just kind of like modern day Babylon. Everybody, you sending somebody who speaks French to a place where they speak Spanish, and you trying to acclimate to that. You don't even care about the person, which clearly tells us, well, we knew, whether we verbalized it outright, we knew that when these ICE agents were doing what they were doing, that they didn't care about the person, and wherever you went, they just dropped you up. Just listen, we just want to get you out of here.
Right.
We want to take you wherever it is, and you figure it out from there. Which is a sad thing. Because we were the ones that said, yeah, sure, come on in. And now we're the ones, just get out. It doesn't matter where you go, just get out. And because they wouldn't willingly leave, now we find devices, and my heart goes out to those who are trying to do what they feel. They got here, you got them signing in or by pin to some little site, and you said that, if they did it willingly, that you wouldn't go get them. Then soon as they put that in there, now all of a sudden they're gone, and they're going to places. You're not even taking them back where they came from. Just take them wherever they can go and drop them off, which is really sad, because I felt like, again, we had always put the cart before the horse, and now we're expecting that thing to run properly.
Right.
We had done right by the people, whatever that right is, then we wouldn't be in this catastrophe that we're in now. You sent them off, and some of them had some of those jobs that we don't want, and now you're trying to figure out how to fix the mess that you made. You put a Band-Aid on an oozing store, guess what? It's going to ooze again.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. As you just stated, Lady Tamika, as Vivian just said, unfortunately, we know that there's some type of kickbacks, some type of benefits, because for this to be so random and unorganized, it's like, okay, so you just so it's like you just putting them where they can fit. Anika says, yes, he promised a set number to deport, and he can't find folks, so he's just deporting anyone they find, even ones that were trying to get the citizenship together at the courts. Wow. So that goes along with what you ladies are saying. We already established that this is what we're going to do, but I haven't met my quota, so now I'm just doing a massive sweep. Ooh. Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for being on this morning, for persevering through the technical difficulties. Thank you so much, Vivian, for presenting us with your socially conscious news. This was some real interesting content you brought up, and hopefully, everyone can walk the streets without worrying about getting caught up in this silly sweep. Okay, so you ladies have a blessed day. Thank you. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good day.
Thank you, too. Okay, so we are going to get into our benediction. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with us from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Father, Son, in truth and love. And that's taken from 2 John 3. Hey, we give God thanks this morning for allowing us to push through and get through our socially conscious news. God always prepares Vivian with the topics that we need to make sure we need to focus on for the day, reflect on during the day, because even when it doesn't feel like we have to pay attention to certain news content, God always brings it back around as to how it applies to us or how we can assist someone else in how to deal with it. Okay? You are watching, you have been watching, It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us every single Monday through Friday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on our YouTube network channel, a Closer Walk Christian Media Network. Yes, media network, y'all, not just a regular YouTube channel anymore. Amen. All of the ministries that are coming through here. We thank Pastor Steph for pushing her way and ensuring that we were able to get through again our socially conscious segment this morning, because we cannot take for granted the news that God is bringing to our attention. So because Friday is a holiday, God spares, and because God, Pastor Steph, wants to ensure that the Due Time crew can travel and enjoy, we will not be on Friday, God spares. Okay, so make sure you're locked in for this morning. If you missed any part of this morning, you can go back to hear Vivian give the original stories and hear what we thought about it. We will be on tomorrow morning, God spares, but Friday, Make sure you take the time to plan properly. Ask the Lord how he wants you to celebrate. Make sure you are staying hydrated because it is supposed to be really warm but beautiful outside. So make sure that you are focused on things that are above, not on things that are below, because Pastor Steph reminds us every single morning it only serves as a distraction, even when it's time to celebrate. Okay, so make sure you're celebrating properly. Until tomorrow morning, God spares. Please make sure you come in and you're locked in for Therapeutic Thursday. Again, thank you guys so much for being on with us. I see that we still have some viewers, loyal viewers. We thank you. We love you. Pastor Steph thanks you and love you. Until tomorrow morning, God spares. Stay warm, stay hydrated. Bye. Love you.